Have you ever wondered how a decision by one king could ignite the flames of war in a whole region? In the mosaic of European history, one such decision led to the First Silesian War, a conflict embedded within the larger War of Austrian Succession. Picture it, the year is 1740. The Habsburg Emperor Charles VI, long-standing ruler of the sprawling Austrian Empire, draws his last breath. His death leaves a power vacuum in Central Europe. There's a struggle for control, a fight for a throne, and a daughter, Maria Theresa, left to hold together her father's legacy. But let's shift our gaze northeast, to the Kingdom of Prussia, where Frederick II, better known as Frederick the Great, eyes the chaos in Austria with mounting interest. He looks upon Silesia, a prosperous region within the Austrian realm, rich in resources and strategically located. He sees an opportunity, a chance to strengthen Prussia's standing among the European powers. The absence of a male heir in Austria, a violation of the pragmatic sanction, becomes Frederick's justification. He claims Silesia as his own, asserting a distant ancestral link. He's not interested in the legality of his claim, but rather in the practicality of it. The kindling is laid for a conflict that will burn for 3 long years. Silesia, a jewel in the Austrian crown, becomes the pawn in a high-stakes game of power and ambition. Its fertile lands, thriving textile industry, and rich mineral resources make it a tantalizing prize. For Prussia, Silesia holds the promise of economic growth and increased military strength. But more than that, its acquisition serves as a statement, a proclamation of Prussia's rise to prominence. Frederick the Great's decision to seize Silesia is a strategic gamble. It's a bold move, one that risks sparking a war with Austria, a formidable adversary. But for Frederick, the potential rewards outweigh the risks. He's ready to stake his claim, ready to challenge the status quo. The stage was set, the actors ready, and so began the First Silesian War. With Prussian troops marching into Silesia, the war was no longer a distant threat, but a harsh reality. The Silesian landscape, once peaceful, was now the stage for a confrontation that would shape the course of history. The Prussians, led by the strategic and ambitious Frederick the Great, were ready for battle. Their early victories were a testament to their preparedness and sheer determination. The Battle of Mollwitz, fought on a chilly April day in 1741, was a pivotal moment in the war. Frederick's army, although initially outmatched by the Austrians, demonstrated an exceptional display of military tactics. They employed a formation known as the oblique order, a strategy that focused their attack on a single point in the enemy line. This was a daring move, as it left other parts of their own line vulnerable. But Frederick was a gambler at heart, and this gamble paid off. The Prussian troops broke through the Austrian lines, turning what could have been a defeat into a decisive victory. Frederick's tactics were not just about formations and maneuvers. He understood the psychological aspect of warfare. He knew the value of morale and confidence among his troops. By leading from the front and sharing the hardships of his men, he fostered a sense of camaraderie and loyalty that was unshakable. His leadership style was a crucial factor in Prussia's early successes. But victories on the battlefield were not achieved without sacrifice. The Prussian troops faced harsh weather conditions, long marches, and the constant threat of enemy fire. Their determination and resilience were tested at every turn. Yet they persevered, driven by their belief in Frederick's leadership and the justness of their cause. The early stages of the First Silesian War saw the emergence of Prussia as a formidable military power. Their innovative tactics and the leadership of Frederick the Great had propelled them to a position of strength. Despite the odds, Prussia's military prowess was beginning to turn the tide of the war. As the snow-covered fields of Silesia bore witness to their victories, the Prussians prepared for the challenges that lay ahead, ready to write the next chapter in their nation's history. As Prussia reveled in its victories, Austria was not ready to cede Silesia without a fight. The Austrian response was swift and decisive. Under the reign of the newly appointed ruler Maria Theresa, Austria was determined to reclaim the region of Silesia. Maria Theresa was not just a figurehead, she was a force to be reckoned with. Her resolve was as strong as steel, and her determination was a beacon of hope for her people. She refused to let the Prussian incursion go unanswered. Maria Theresa's reign marked a new era in Austrian history, She was not only the first woman to rule Habsburg lands in her own right, but also one of the few female monarchs in European history to lead her country into war. Maria Theresa was a strategic thinker, a master of diplomacy, and a shrewd politician. She knew that her country's survival depended on a robust response to Prussia's aggression. Thus, the stage was set for the Battle of Chotusitz. This was a pivotal moment in the First Silesian War. It was here that the Austrians, under the leadership of Prince Charles Alexander of Lorraine, Maria Theresa's brother-in-law, demonstrated their military prowess. The Austrians put up a formidable fight, and the Battle of Chotusitz marked a turning point in the war. Although the battle ended in a tactical stalemate, it was a strategic victory for Austria. They'd shown Prussia and the rest of Europe that they would not be easily defeated. The Battle of Chotusitz was a testament to Austria's resilience and a clear signal that they would not surrender Silesia to Prussia without a fierce struggle. The war was far from over, but Austria had made its position clear. They were not ready to back down, and they were not ready to accept defeat. The Prussians may have struck the first blow, but the Austrians were preparing to strike back. The war was far from over, and the Austrian counterattack was just beginning. With the war dragging on, a resolution was needed, leading to the Treaty of Breslau. As the First Silesian War raged on, both Austria and Prussia grew weary of the conflict, which led to the signing of the Treaty of Breslau on June 11, 1742. This agreement was a turning point, not only in ending the war, but also in shaping the future of Silesia and Europe. Under the terms of the treaty, most of Silesia, along with the county of Glatz, was ceded to Prussia. This concession by Austria was a significant one, as Silesia was a prosperous region, rich in resources, and a key contributor to the Austrian economy. By acquiring Silesia, Prussia not only expanded its territory but also boosted its economic strength dramatically. The Treaty of Breslau also had far-reaching implications for the balance of power in Europe. The success of Prussia in the First Silesian War and the subsequent acquisition of Silesia catapulted it into the ranks of the major European powers. Its rise challenged the traditional dominance of Austria and France, setting the stage for a new dynamic in European politics. The treaty also marked a shift in alliances. Britain, initially an ally of Austria, switched sides to support Prussia, a move that was pivotal in the later stages of the War of the Austrian Succession. This change in allegiance was driven by Britain's desire to prevent France from gaining too much power in Europe. But the Treaty of Breslau was not the end of the story for Silesia. The region would continue to be a bone of contention between Austria and Prussia, leading to two more Silesian wars. Despite these subsequent conflicts, the Treaty of Breslau stood as a landmark agreement, testament to the rising power of Prussia and a turning point in the history of Silesia. The Treaty of Breslau not only ended the First Silesian War, but also reshaped the political landscape of Europe. In the aftermath of the war, a new balance of power emerged in Europe. The First Silesian War, a conflict that was fueled by ambition and territorial claim, had ended. The echoes of cannons and muskets had faded, but the effects of the war were far from over. They were just beginning to take shape. The Treaty of Breslau, the piece of parchment that ended the battlefield bloodshed, had far-reaching implications. It was not just a mere ceasefire, it was a reshuffling of the European power dynamics. Prussia, once a lesser player in the political arena, had now stepped into the limelight. With Silesia under its control, Prussia's influence and prestige skyrocketed. It was no longer the underdog, it was a force to be reckoned with. But what of Austria, the nation that had lost Silesia in the war? The loss was a bitter pill to swallow. Silesia's prosperous industries and strategic position were key assets, and their loss was deeply felt. But, as with all setbacks, it also presented an opportunity for reflection and reform. Austria's defeat was a wake-up call, leading to significant military and administrative reforms that would shape its future. And then there was Silesia, the land that had been the bone of contention. The war had changed it too. It was no longer just a region, it was a symbol of ambition, a symbol of power, a symbol of the lengths nations were willing to go to assert their dominance. As we reflect on the First Silesian War, we're reminded of the interplay of ambition, power, and territorial claim. we see how a single event can ripple outwards, affecting not just the immediate players, but the entire European landscape. We see how the actions of a few, the decisions made in palaces and on battlefields, can alter the course of history. The First Silesian War, a conflict sparked by ambition and territorial claim, left an indelible mark on European history, reminding us how the actions of a few can shape the fate of many.